So my name is Alexander John. I go by Zan John. I've been running since 2020, back when it was the hardest to be an outspoken patriot. My message has aged like a fine 82 Bordeaux. I have not had to recant or adjust anything. If anything, I've been saying the same thing since 2020 and further refining my points and adding in the names of the people who are behind the scenes trying to run things. That way we can hold them accountable. This might be our last election. I'm very worried. I saw that your YouTube channel was taken down. I saw
Mhm.
that. I mean, you just, and I understand from our first interview, you were trying to be completely objective with this. You still are. And it's just, I'm sure it's unbelievable the learning curve you've had with just trying to interview people. And I really feel, uh, I'm putting words in your mouth, okay? And correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't even think you're going to have the opportunity to interview conservatives if things continue and Trump can't get in office in November 5th, which they're doing everything to stop. And this
Mhm.
guy has got to stay alive. I feel the whole world hinges on this man staying alive.
Yeah, it's insane because you touched on the censorship. Fun fact for anybody who's watching: the first time that we ever experienced any type of censorship was actually with your video. And it was a weird type of censorship too, because it was like the video and audio randomly cut out in the YouTube video. But when we went back and looked at the raw file, it was there. The information was there. And it was on a very specific subject. But now we're fully on X. So we're praying that Mr. Elon Musk stays true to his word. So we'll just go and nothing's off the table. We're willing to fight the system in the sense that all information is free speech.
But you're not fighting. You got to understand, we're in their compendium whenever we say that. We have to fight to exist to maintain our rights because we have free speech. And also, too, Elon, they have all these liberal publications all over the world calling for his arrest and all this stuff. They just henpeck at him because they're not getting the traction they want. I mean, look what happened to him in Brazil. And what blows my mind is people like Elon, they wanted him out and then they wanted him back in Brazil. Now they want him out. And then with RFK, he was only going to come off they didn't want to allow him on the ballot. He had to sue to get on. And now he has to sue to get off in certain states. Like now he can't even pull out. It's such a joke. And the altruism and the moral high ground that the left claims is just instantly debunked if anyone pays attention to this objectively. But I will tell you another thing. My message might get out to some new voters, but no one's changing their mind this far in the game. I mean, after the Trump assassination, people are either seeing it and either happy it happened or they're denying it, or, it's making people realize, oh my God, they're trying to, JFK this guy again. So we're not past. I mean, there's nothing more I feel that can polarize anyone. When people watch the Biden debate, was anyone surprised? I mean, there might be a fraction of people on the fence, but nothing. I mean, I'm not changing anyone's minds. People are either looking at me, seeing the flag in the background right here, getting triggered, not watching your show, or they're going to sit and go, here's a new guy. What does he have to say? Oh, wow, this falls in line with every guy that is running as far as conservative. He might be a little more outspoken, a little bit more flashy. But, I mean, everything is so polarized right now. I mean, there is no room for middle ground because there is no middle ground. It's either you want the United States to continue or you want the deep state to stay in control forever, of which they will never relinquish power. And they're going to always have a fig leaf of it's for your safety, but behind the agenda have something just that's all about depopulation and just double speak. Everything with them is like perfect example. Let me go down this rabbit hole. Is not even a rabbit hole. Like Roger Stone and JD Vance, they had secret reporters. The left followed them around, and what they do is they record these conservatives saying the same thing behind closed doors as they do in public. So it's not this new, tranche, if you will, of information being released once they release their hidden cameras. It's the same thing. It's if anything redundant. And so see, it's the left that projects onto us. They assume that we're lying like they are. They assume all these things about us. And if anything, we're not. And the only way I feel, because right now all I'm doing is meeting the left at their lies. The only thing I feel, instead of sitting here and just fussing about that, everyone has to get out and vote on election day. Everyone has to know that if there is some sort of bombing at a black college, if there's some sort of power outage, if there's some sort of thing that is to either stop or significantly hinder voter turnout because they know Trump's going to win in a landslide. Why else would they try and kill him? We have to place the blame on the right people. It's going to be the deep state. It's going to be the left and their minions, and they're going to blame conservatives, Trump supporters, And let me tell you another thing: all the people that think that are on Trump's side or on the side of conservatism, and they think, "Why vote?" Our situation would not be hopeless if their propaganda wasn't necessary. So these people, the left doesn't have it in the bag, and they're very vulnerable. And see, now the cat's out of the bag. Now you know at this point in life where everyone stands. It's just unbelievably obvious, because if you talk to someone nowadays, they're either going to dignify and talk in the compendium of the left, as in saying men can get pregnant, climate change is real, all these things, or they're going to be a version of reality where they're like you and I. Oh, I mean, I don't want to throw you into this, and I know you want to remain, off this record, or this is my interview, but they're going to be like, oh yeah, Trump, they tried to kill Trump, or taxes are way too high, or gas is way too high. Under Trump, it was a lot less. But I don't want to take complete control of this. I want you to steer the direction. What do you want to get across? What do you want to ask? Let's do it.
Let me actually touch on what you said, because I feel like it's important for me now to be more free on talking about my personal stances, and I do talk about my personal stances, and
Sure.
just knowing who I am and the type of intellectual person that I am. Not that I'm the smartest person, but I like to think things through.
Yeah.
And so I was genuinely debating between Robert F. Kennedy Jr. and Donald Trump. Like, this is actual discussion that I've had in my head, trying to figure it out, because what is more valuable to me? First of all, I see one of the things that you have, and we'll touch on this next, which is national divorce. I believe that Texas must withdraw from the union.
Are you a big Texit fan?
I am now, yes.
Yes, Texit is gaining movement.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, I'm glad you read that. Texit, I'm all about it.
Yeah, and here's the thing, because I'm looking at the economic system, there is no way to recover from $35 trillion in debt. I just do not see a way out.
Look what they did to California. They're going to California your Texas, because California used to be the strongest economy. I mean, care of the United States, if you want to go back to history and look at unbiased numbers. You see, Texas was the second biggest, and then I think you got Florida. They've already captured New York. Yep. They've captured California. Those are places that are hijacked. Texas can hang on, and Texas can secede from the union. Oh, my God. It would be the best thing. It'd be the best thing for it.
And here's the thing, because I have 2 kids now, and they're inheriting. Thank you. They've come out of the womb with $100,000 share of the federal debt. So if I look at the way the trajectory of the economic system, and I know that the globalists, the deep state, they want to implement social credit scores, they want to do central bank digital currencies, they're going to come in to save the day, quote unquote, with those systems, when the US dollar inevitably collapses, because there's just no way it can sustain.
On their tyranny. Listen, they thought they were going to install Hillary in 2016. You see, they're very late on their tyranny. This is why they're scrambling. This is why they're desperate. This is why we see all this stuff. This is why they want to go to war so bad with Iran and all this stuff. They need to money launder. They need to usher in the CBDC, because the dollar is plummeting. It's outlived. And now, if we could dignify the real source of these problems, is the fact that we had a normal Treasury, U.S. Treasury, that had its money printing usurped by an improperly ratified act in 2013, the Federal Reserve Act, which has a clause in it that we can abolish this. And what is it? 1860, Andrew Jackson defeated that round of central banks. I mean, so from 1860-ish to 1913, we had, normal, real United States legal tender, and since 2013 to 1913. We've had a private bank installed, the Federal Reserve. I mean, it's a joke. And it's inflationary. Fractal reserve banking is inflationary by design. And the only people it benefits is the people who get the money first and or print the money.
Yes.
What I'm trying to say is, I know this sounds overwhelming to people, but the thing is, we can take back these institutions that were justly ours. But we have to be able to talk about it, think about it, and then we can act on it. It's tough. If guys like Vivek and I have to go out and be defamed, and just metaphorically lay ourselves on this barbed wire fence first to make it easier for others to cross, then so be it. Okay? If his children, the 2 of them that he was talking about inheriting all this debt, you see, it's all these man-made constructs and all this filth that these globalists and the media and these leftist institutions that hijack, they want us to succumb to this and think that death and taxes are inevitable when it's not true. And we could really go on a rabbit hole here, but I have the guts to say it. Death is a disease. These telomeres can be capped. This is what the globalists are obsessed with. This is the technology on the spectrum of the other end of RNA, mRNA, and all these other things that they hijack and black shelf and keep for themselves. That's why they're obsessed with all these rituals and studying the occult and all this adrenochrome. All this stuff is because they want to hold us hostage and make us accept crap while they hoard off all the good technology. I mean, why are people building? Why are these billionaires building bunkers? Why is Zuckerberg finally coming around saying, "Okay, I did censor," but it's because the government made me, and I didn't want to fine for everyone that posted something. You see, the government reaches its hand through, big tech and censors because they can't do it directly. That way, there's all this plausible deniability. But please continue.
Yeah. So, I would like to think that there are other people like myself, voters, because one thing that you mentioned was that people won't change their mind this late in the game. I want to disagree with that. Maybe there's like a 3 to 5% margin of people, and that might just be enough to swing in the other direction. So that's why the work that you're doing, that everybody's doing, is even important right now to reach those people who are maybe even thinking about, because you know how many times I've seen in the last few days people on Twitter who have been expressing their distaste for both Trump and Harris, and they're looking into RFK, but he's been suspended, and then now he's going through what he's going through. So they're actually looking into Chase Oliver, which is a libertarian candidate. So there are enough people who are willing to vote outside of the system to where I'm sure that they want to recapture those votes. But back to what you're going into, let's say Texit is gaining momentum, which we know it is. I talk with the president of Texit all the time. He's a customer of ours. And what would Louisiana do in that case?
I don't know enough. I would hope it. I just don't even know. Texas is a much more significant state, different. It came into the union differently. I think it retained these clauses to regain its sovereignty. I'm no expert on that.
It's in the Constitution. We have the ability and inalienable right to abolish or reform our government as Texans see expedient. So it's in the Constitution.
Also, too, for this nation as well, there's a very similar clause in our Constitution and Bill of Rights and all that. But I think it's just too far gone. I mean, we're going to have to, like you said, have a national divorce. I don't know enough about that. I don't know what Louisiana would do. I know that we have a much better governor than the one we've had, twice, John Bel Edwards. We have now we have Jeff Landry.
Yeah,
he implemented the constitutional carry. I mean, he shows promise. He seems good. I supported him whenever I ran for governor.
I remember.
I don't know, and I can't speak for that state. This state, I do know that I will give my life to fight for it and fight for its sovereignty against this oppressive federal government. But I don't know what they're gonna do. I'm very, very worried, and I don't want to kid myself with what they're willing to do because they'd rather have World War III and literally annihilate the entire surface population before they count enough votes to force themselves out of power. They would never do that.
Yeah.
So we're going to have to, I mean, we're up against the constitutional crisis. It's nice that y'all have that emergency brake, that safety lever that Texas can pull. Maybe Louisiana could copy off y'all or be absorbed. I don't know enough. I don't know what they're going to do. That's a very good point. And you got me stumped on that.
Well, no. Well, I have a suggestion actually, because I think, and here maybe getting into the weeds about this, but if Texas were to successfully pull it off, other states will try to follow, even if it's outside of the jurisdictions of what they're allowed to do. They will try to do it because, it's going to catch on, and the states must do what's best for the people of those states. And so, even if it goes against the United States as a whole. And of course, there's going to be threats of whatever military intervention and whatever, but that's far into the future. But I think it will catch fire. I think it will start to the discussions will be had, and there are instances of sovereign nations being born all the time. In fact, I think 10, 15 years ago, we had maybe even more recently, the Democratic Republic of Congo. That didn't exist on the map 10 years ago, 15 years ago. It was a different geographic structure.
Zaire and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, so there's movements like that all over the world. Even North Mexico is talking about seceding from Mexico because they're sick of what's happening. The migrants going through them, overwhelming them.
Yeah, that's very interesting. Yes, I know. And that's what – here's the deal. I don't mind a breakup and all this stuff in national divorce. I just wonder – I know that if we're talking about it, these people have already war gamed it. And what are they going to do to sabotage our efforts? When you see, what are they going to do? How are they going to hijack it? Who are they going to install to try and sabotage it? We can't successfully outmaneuver these things. Just like Ken Paxton beat this whole Dade Phelan. Every time I drive to Houston, I see all these Dade Phelan signs. The dude's such a joke.
Yeah,
he's an absolute Bush crony puppet. And then Ken Paxton, all he had to do was just go through all this badgering, the struggle session, and came out smelling like a rose. Ken Paxton's the man. Okay, I love Ken, and he should be y'all's next governor. Anyway, I understand what you're saying, and I'm there with you. And I think that's the only way to actually do this, because we cannot be encompassed in with all these hijacked sovereigns like California, Massachusetts, Vermont, all these just like scraggly haired liberal, like Bernie supporting wackos driving their Priuses, out of touch with reality. I think food just magically appears in stores and gas is magically at, in the pump. So we can't continue with these people. But also too, let's just say best case scenario, Texas, Louisiana, we secede or whatever. We still are spot. I mean, you still have a stronghold of liberalism. You have Austin. I mean, you have all those wackos and Travis County. Then you have Judge Maria Gamble and such who are trying to say Alex Jones killed all these kids when and Sandy Hook and all this stuff when it was at and all. I mean, we have. Even so, best case scenario, we still have these hijacked blue cancer cells. Like we have New Orleans. I mean, the most wacko liberal. I mean, it's y'all's version of Austin. I mean, these people, the nation has been successfully divided in, no matter what state, two groups of people that cannot coexist. And as we speak, we're being flooded with cultures that are not compatible with ours. And so the globalist deep state, whatever you want to call them, they know this. And that's why they want to give these people voting rights and make them our police, because they're not going to be compassionate about us. And what's going to happen too, I'm so worried about the 18th of this month. They're going to try and Juan Merchan, the guy who's a complete joke, is going to try and put Trump in Rikers Island. I'm so worried they're going to poison him. I don't know what's about to happen.
Yeah, but here's the thing, right? There's so many series of events. I'm sure you're extremely intelligent, and I say that with 100% certainty because I've spoken to you, and you've been able to you've been able to wake up some things in my mind that I've seen actually come to fruition well before the public was ready to even start talking about these things. So when I start diving deeper, right, and I want to frame this question, it might be a long-winded, so forgive me, but in February of this year, I saw the non-committed vote against Joe Biden in some states like Michigan, and it was actually a 20%. And from that moment, I knew that what they were doing was they were setting up the population they were planting the seed that Joe Biden was not going to be the nominee. That was just the seed being planted. And I called it out. I put it on Twitter. I did a nice extended write-up, and it passed almost exactly. I'd say 90% with accuracy the way that I called it out. So I'm sure you're able to perceive maybe 6 months ago, 9 months ago, that an attempt on Trump's life was going to be made. I mean, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure that out, because we know how hated he is and how much they don't want him back in the White House. So there's plan A, B, C, and D. But that doesn't mean we are defenseless. We can analyze these things from a bird's eye perspective and be able to perceive, hey, this is going to be the next step. So yes, maybe they are going to put Trump in prison.
Like they already tried to assassinate him. And listen, since then, RFK has joined. The Zuckerberg letter of admission has come out. I mean, to me, that's more tension building to where they're going to do something extreme, because they're not going to take this laying down. They didn't gear up to whack Trump and have all these things to shove under the rug. I mean, they were ready to deploy Nikki Haley and nominate her and go to war with Iran. They were ready to censor us all, and we're going to have no hope. Mm-hmm. So it's very scary that, this whole election, this whole nation hinges on one man who is mortal and can easily be killed. That really has me worried. Every day, I just hope I don't read a headline, Trump whacked this, that, the other. That really worries me, because I don't know what's going to happen, if that does. All I know is I can do what I can with what I got with the time that we have left. And I know that every stage, every barrier we breach through successfully, the risk of us just all being nuked or just drones being sent out with nerve gas, I don't care how extreme that is. I don't care who disagrees with me. I want people to be ready, because these people that want to control us and feel that we are their chattel, and that this nation full of resources, actually this world full of resources, is theirs, truly. They view this election, they view domestic voters as an encumbrance, as an obstacle, and they cannot allow Trump to win again. So if we can overwhelm them on November 5th, and for some reason there's no power outage or whatever, or some sort of voter system gets hijacked nationwide, what are they going to do until Trump's inaugurated? Even Alex Jones says, watch for the inauguration whenever Trump's getting sworn in on January 6, 2025, okay? If there's any liberals in the crowd, people like Jamie Raskin and Pelosi, whoever, What is her name? That Black Plinkett or whatever. She represents y'all's
Musket.
area. I cannot stand her. She is so ghetto. She's like a ghetto AOC. If those people aren't in the crowd, they're going to set off a tactical nuke. They're just going to blow. They're just going to level everything right there. They'll all be sitting in COG beneath ground out in Denver, and they're just going to level Washington, D.C., whack all of Trump's, second and third level people and just take control after that. I mean, nothing is off the table, okay? And if this sounds shocking to some people, they need to wake up. And it's nothing personal. I mean that in the nicest sense of the way. I mean that this truly is the last attempt. I mean, I'll put it to people like this. How are we going to be more free if they take it from Trump, kill Trump, or sabotage this next election? At what point do we build up the momentum again, have all this unity like RFK coming and all the pressure felt by people like, perfect example, Zuckerberg saying, okay, and sending a letter to Jim Jordan of all people. I mean, you think he wanted to do that? We're not going to be able to get the minutia. I mean, their censorship and social credit score and all this stuff will be in place. Mm-hmm. There'll be no way for us to rise up again. So this truly matters. And anyway, yeah, please. I'm sorry. I feel like I keep on taking it.
No. That letter Zuckerberg wrote to Chairman Jordan, it almost seemed like it was a preemptive.
He's getting
cover his butt because he knows Trump's going to get back in.
That means there's enough outside pressure.
Yeah. Well, I think he knows that Trump's going to get back in. I think
everyone knows Trump is going to get back in, even on the left.
Yeah.
Whether they admit it and want to just dignify your narrative or not. Now, can he stay alive through this? The 79 days from November 5th to the swearing in. And also, the whole time he's enacting change. I mean, can he stay alive during all this? And what's going to happen? And here's another thing, too. Best case scenario, Trump gets back in. He better, and serves 4 years. Everything's great. Gas is 99 cents. A burger's $2. Okay, that's only 4 years of goodness. We have got to, while they're in office, and set up leaders, groom people, set up an infrastructure to keep the continuity going. Because what's the point of Trump getting in office just to delay the inevitable 4 more years? You know what? Just throw us all in jail now. I mean, what's the point? We have got to enact absolute change. And they're very worried because Trump, before he got in office, he only thought there was Republicans and Democrats. This is Trump 2.0 now. This is Trump united with RFK and a bunch of independents. This is a very united country against the blob, the deep state. So,
yeah. And do you think that there was any significant shift? Because I know for a fact there was a merger between the voting base of RFK Jr. and Trump. But Tulsi Gabbard also joined. Is that surprising to you? Do you think it actually moved the needle?
Maybe. I mean, I don't know enough. I mean, it can't hurt. I can tell you that much. I know that, she's spoken out many times. She used to be a bona fide Democrat.
Yeah.
And then when Hillary wasn't installed in 2016, that's when she woke up because she, just like this other guy who's great, his name's Mike Benz. He's been on Tucker.
Yeah, love him.
Oh, Mike Benz?
Yeah.
He goes, man, when I tell you I stop and I sit and I listen to his interviews again and again, there's people I love when they speak up, Laura Loomer, Roger Stone. I love when they're on Alex Jones, or I love when I hear their podcast. But people like Mike Benz, when he talks, I just start taking pages of notes, looking up all these organizations. He perfectly maps out this spider web, if you will, of how things evolve, the context behind it, and what they do to circumnavigate accountability. Because it's mind-blowing when you sit back and think, how the hell are they monitoring all of us in lifetime? These phones are watching us, tracking us, doing all these things. How do they keep, when we have a Constitution and a Bill of Rights and a Second Amendment, how the hell does the government keep getting away with this? He fills that gap. He's this legitimate gap filler with a timeline and a complete audit. And so shout out to Mike Benz. I think you're amazing. And God, I hope you have a place in the cabinet. So Kash Patel's great. Anyway, yeah.
Yeah, well, man, we could go down so many different rabbit holes with this. But back to the Tulsi Gabbard, right? In my personal perspective, I don't think that it moved the needle that much forward, just because nobody on the left was even surprised that she was going to do this, in my opinion. I think she was basically already on the Trump camp. She just didn't formalize it. And the formality, it didn't surprise anybody. I mean, she already had the distaste of people in the Democrat Party.
It makes the left more butthurt. So what are they going to do? I mean, it's a nut to them. That's another slap in the face,
Yeah. And then I also feel for the people who are actually genuine Democrats who have principles. And I know I personally think that the Democrat Party was co-opted by an outside force. And so what we see now in the uber liberal movement is not actually organic Democrat. Robert F. Kennedy Jr. is the organic Democrat. So there are people in that camp who do feel displaced, but they will never vote for Trump. Like, what do they have to look forward to?
I don't think they're going to be able to make a difference in this election. And if they can't vote, if they can't swallow their pride and get behind Trump this go around, I used to attack Trump all the time. Not that I was a leftist or anything, but when he was pushing the vaccines and all this stuff, when he was misled, I mean, look, not getting behind Trump is suicide. So the people that don't have the intellectual humility to just understand that Trump is just the train they ride to stay free, and then we can break off into our separate groups. You get what I'm saying? Then they'll never get it, and they have too much pride. And so, yes, I am anyone who feels like what you just said. I am throwing you under the bus because and it's nothing personal, because we need to side with Trump now. Then we can break off into our different you know what I'm saying? Things are so bad, and it's such a right versus wrong paradigm right now for survival. It's like, look at RFK joining and merging with Trump. Like, even the independents, those people are getting it. So if you feel misplaced and you're either not going to vote or you're just going to vote for the left, I hate saying it, we don't need you in this country.
That's pretty harsh. But yeah, like, there's a faction.
Call a spade a spade, because if we don't have a country, a lot of people, like, I have a lot of good guys, like he's pro-Trump and all, but all he cares about right now is, going at the Federal Reserve and all these things. And I'm trying to tell him, I'm like, I won't mention his name, but I'm like, look, I know I'm mentioning other things than that, and going up the Federal Reserve is not my first priority right now. I'm just trying to say, if we're not on this, looking at this as a football analogy, if we're the team red and their team blue, like, if we're not on the field, we can't even make a difference and make that touchdown later. Like, we have to get Trump in, keep him alive, then we can start implementing all these changes. So, like, if we focus everything on going up the Federal Reserve right now and not trying to get Trump in, or not trying to get this beachhead movement a place in office to enact change, well, then everything's a moot point. Like, there's so many we're in such a bad position. There's so many things that need to be enacted. But step one is getting Trump in office.
Yeah, that's fair. I do have a lot of criticisms for him as well, because there are certain things that I don't like.
I have them all racked up. He's not, but the thing is understanding we need to side with them. You know what I'm saying? Like just for now, so this country, for the good of this country to continue. If not, I'm telling him, I got to flee this country. You think they're not going to come after us? Us being outspoken like this is all being recorded in AI and scraped and everything. Yep. They're going to find us at some point, and they're going to come after us.
Yeah, the crazy thing is, I actually interviewed a guy who was running in, I believe he was running in the Democrat primary. He was running for president. And interestingly enough, his name was President, or Bodie or something like that. And that was his first name, is President. And I had the weirdest experience, almost like it was surreal. Like, there was definitely intelligence operatives on my computer or something. And I felt like I was in a psychosis for the next 48 hours because the experience was so weird. Like, I was having a conversation with him. My computer restarted 3 times, which it never does that before. I have good power. I have good internet. The internet went down. Computer restarted 3 times. The recording abruptly stopped on his side. And man, it was just the most mind-blowing thing. And I'm telling you, like, then my phone started overheating randomly for the next 2 days. And I swear I felt like I was in a psychosis, but like, my paranoia was at an all-time high, of course, but I know enough about what can be done that I'm sure the algorithms had picked up on what I was talking about, that it was going to damage the Democrat primary, whether it was real or not. He was a small-time, not very well known at all, didn't have any funding, but he was running against Joe Biden. And so they don't want that. They didn't want that.
Wow, things heating up and all that. It almost sounds like they're Havana syndroming things, or sending in those microwave. That's insane. You were getting a lot of traffic. That just makes me think, like, all sorts of traffic, lots of things watching you. Man, this control grid, I swear to God, it's just so scary what's going to happen if we can't stay free. This AI thing is another huge problem, I feel. I mean, there's several different kinds. I feel different AI systems are going to compete to try and take over and get into a physical form, and then either, rule us all or something. I mean, the things we could talk about. Basically, if you're not for Trump, you're wrong. My name is Dan John, and I will fight for your birthright. I will never stop. I will never stop saying the truth. And let me do this too. This might sound like I'm flattering myself, but Alex Jones said this beautifully the other day. We have to speak out and normalize and do what we're doing because, like I said, back to AI, all this information is all being scraped. It's all being compiled. Everything we say on our phone. And so we have to be the bug in the machine, the ghost in the machine. That way there's, some sort of AI computing in the future. It can't just give you this perfect Democrat narrative. I mean, we have got to say what we're saying to pave the way for this to be normal later, whether on the internet or something, but like, I'd hate for future generations to be enslaved and they're talking to some sort of AI they have to deal with for compliance. And there's just no mention of Trump, us, anything. You get what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
But the other side of this is we are going to be the first people to live out in a gulag, with a cricket protein. If this, in about a year or two, if we can't keep this nation free.
It's interesting. Yeah. Cause, I try to talk about some of this stuff on Facebook and I get a lot of pushback, obviously, because it's so far out there for the average person. They're not ready to talk about it. But there is one guy, he's the current representative. I believe you're running against Clay Higgins, right?
It's me.
Yeah. So, but you're pretty much aligned a lot with him.
I'm aligned with Landry and Higgins this go around, and somewhat John Kennedy. Cassidy is the guy who I was really against. He voted to impeach Trump.
Uh-huh.
And see, I'll be running for Senate in 2026 if we still have a nation then, and I don't flee this country, and that's the most promising thing. But the beauty of me getting ahead of this is I'm the guy that got out ahead of this narrative. So if someone wants to get on the bandwagon, let's just say Trump wins, it's easy, to talk about all these things. I'll have that history of altruism building up, unwavering, same message. And that's what I'm really hoping for is the 2026 win. I like Clay. He's doing good. I mean, for a congressperson, he's up there with MTG and Matt Gaetz. I mean, I support Clay, and I don't even like running in these little district races. I like a whole state, so I get even more interviews and more chances to screw up the algorithm of liberalism and say more things on record. But I really feel like this is our last election. I didn't even want to get involved with Clay.
Mm-hmm. It's crazy. What do you? Well, let me try to think about this next question because it's there's a lot of different levers being pulled simultaneously, whether it's trying to keep Trump off, but then there's in a way, there's a checks and balances in a way, because the Chevron deference, right? The Chevron deference ruling by the Supreme Court, in my opinion, is going to have potentially long-reaching positive consequences 5, 10, 15 years down the line. That ruling will help a lot of these bureaucratic institutions who've made frivolous laws. Well, I mean, they're there for a reason, but just for example, right? A trucker cannot drive more than 8 hours. Now, if the trucker wanted to drive more than 8 hours, he should be free to do so. I get why they made that decision, but by making that law or that legislation, they basically increase the cost of transporting all goods and services all across the United States, because now you have to have 2 people on the truck if you want to drive for more than 8 hours. So things like that can be challenged, meaning the EPA restrictions, the FDA restrictions, the USDA, all that stuff that aren't from the legislature can be challenged. So there's an out somewhere, somehow, because they don't have complete control of everything, right? Do you get where I'm going with this? Is there some kind of levers that can be pulled on the sides?
Not only do I completely get where you're going with it, but you got to understand there's always a tit for tat. So they'll just completely ignore those rulings. And you have to factor in there's a 2-tier justice system. Conservatives are the ones getting censored. Conservatives are the one who stepped foot on D.C. in 2021 and going to jail. So what I'm saying is they want to pack the court. Then they'll revisit Chevron and rule the way they want. That's what I'm trying to tell you is they have a tit for that tat. So it takes that ruling being appreciated and enforced with conservatives in power, with normal, rational people in power. So, I mean, that is great. And you are right if we're going to follow rules here. But they're not being followed. I mean, Kamala was just installed. Okay. And then what do? They're running against themselves. I mean, she complains about all these things. But wait, aren't you in office? Haven't you just been put in place? They're not even following the rules. So in a world, and also, okay, that thought process comes from how conservatives are chained to the rules and married to the rules and married to the protocol. The left isn't going to follow that. So they're going to do whatever they want exponentially. So if we can adhere to an actual nation with integrity, like I'm hoping we can, yes, I understand your point.
Mm-hmm.
They've been passing I've dealt with that. I've dealt with the EPA at Texas Petroleum in Houston right there for years. They're insane. They pass all these laws, and they can't even do it.
Yeah.
You can't regulate laws into existence. They have to, form a legislative body. We all know about proper ratification. So, yeah, I agree with you. But guess what? If they pack the court, all that's going to go bye-bye. They are so butthurt. Roe v. Wade got overturned. They are so butthurt. And they use this vocabulary that they call abortion the murder of a child. Mind you, you've had two. I know you know this. They call that healthcare. You see, everything is like just double speak with them. Everything is just the shifting of the narrative and carefully selected language and undertones and hidden I mean, it's just insanity to even keep up with these people. Stands the reason we are incompatible with these people occupying the same land with us.
Mm-hmm.
So back to this national divorce issue, we got to figure out how to have an amicable separation. Because I'll tell you this much, and out of everything that I've said today, everyone can take this to the bank. Whichever side gets in, the other side is not going to accept it or validate it. So Trump gets in, Raskin, all of them, his whole clique, the squad, they are not going to certify it.
Mm-hmm.
They're not. They're going to call all of us racist, transphobic, domestic white extremists. What's funny is, even to them, you are a white extremist. I just want you to understand, white is anything they're opposed to.
They call me white adjacent.
Do what?
White adjacent.
Yes, okay, yeah. So that's what I'm trying to say. So I don't know what's going to happen. Things are going to get bad, but we can't lose hope. And we have got to maintain the moral high ground.
Yeah, and here's the thing, though. When there are actual citizens who have really believed in their core the propaganda that's being put to them, and we know because of you have understood what Mike Benz is really putting out, the intel agencies, everything is focused on them. So are they really the enemy, the people who've actually bought this fakeness? Or
they're part of it. They're a cog in the wheel because they do us no justice. They are the useful idiots. They are the captured hive mind that we truly can do nothing about. That honestly think, and those words I just said about them, they think that about us.
Mm-hmm.
So there's no middle ground. There's no unity with these people. You see, you can salvage the whole independent movement, which I started off doing. I tried my own gold party, get back to the gold standard in 2020, and then I was independent in 2022. And I realized you've got to merge with Trump, merge with the Republicans, branch off into this America first, and then once we win, we can, get into our finer differences.
Okay.
Because we all want prosperity. We all want no war. We all want these main categories, but we do have some differences. But the luxury of getting to our little differences later, is just that. We'll get to that luxury when we can. First, we've got to win.
Mm-hmm.
Or this country's over.
So how do you reach the people in super blue New Orleans? You don't have to reach 100% of them. You don't even have to reach 10% of them. But if you reach 5% of them?
I can't reach any of them first off because I don't even represent that district.
Okay.
But in statewide races, how can you reach them? The news won't talk about me. You're the only outfit giving me the time of day. If it wasn't for you, I'd be screwed. Every social media account, if it's not censored, it's all shadow banned. Mm-hmm. One view, two view on this or that. Their control system is in such good place that I'm happy that I just exist as another flavor, at least, to against their tyranny. So I am simply a seed awaiting water, if you will, metaphorically speaking. There is no way to get to those that refuse to believe this. There is no way. And it's nothing personal, nothing even against them. There is no way to salvage those people. There's about that as much of a chance as that as you going and aborting your two children and saying, hey, this is healthcare. They're that kind of chance. I hate to talk about them like that. I'm sure they're precious angels. I'm just saying, these people, they're the kind of people that they don't care what happens as long as you're governed and down with them too. Mm-hmm. You see, they'll happily go into the gulag. They're the people right there that are handcuffed first and looking back at you like, you need to be like me. It's a mentality. It's an ethos. It's a thought process, foundational issue that we can't even relate with.
On that double speak subject, I've picked up on it last year or the year before when I started hearing gender affirming care. I started hearing reproductive rights, my body, my choice. And of course, my wife was pregnant with our second child recently, and I was really diving deep into politics and 2024 major election. So all this stuff was prime. And I see these people who genuinely believe that the child inside my wife's belly was kicking is my wife's organ. And so I'm thinking to myself, how do you get from actually seeing that as a living being to seeing it as a part of the woman's body? Like there has to be a serious.
That's Stockholm syndrome. You are dealing with people in full-blown psychosis. They are fighting their intellectual instincts. You know, everyone that's pro-abortion survived it. Okay, That's another fact. And every gay and trans, whatever, BIPOC, I'm not even going to indulge all these crazy names, can thank straight people for coming together for their existence. Okay, I don't care. I'm unashamed. This needs to be on record. It needs to be normal again, or we're not going to have a nation. It's sick. It's sick, huh? How they just downplay the beautiful life in your wife. I mean, the splendor that you can't wait to set up a trust fund and can't wait to teach how to throw a ball and, all this stuff.
Yeah.
To sit there and talk about it. So, yeah. And what's funny is they'll know that you feel that way and still just pound out their points and just, they'll talk about that blob of cells that has no soul to you like it's nothing,
Yeah, I mean, well, biology has determined that when two zygotes meet, that is the beginning stages of a human being. So, I mean, it's okay I don't want to say it's okay, but if somebody really believes that they want to abort, who am I to say that they can't? I know that I am not the arbiter of what's right and wrong, but to change the language systematically.
Hold on. Yeah, there's you can go stick your what in a meat grinder. There's a certain point where there has to be rational safety thresholds on things. There are limits. Okay, and I know what you mean, but look, the Constitution and Bill of Rights and all this stuff and these debates on guns and all this stuff, this was already thought up years ago. We don't even need to rehash all this stuff. It's because the Constitution is looked at as an obstacle, as a speed bump, as a hurdle to cross for these people to install their totalitarian agenda. Okay? And they can package it in all this flowery language that they have all these focus groups and just unlimited funds, and George Soros dumping millions of dollars to repackage all this stuff. Okay? They're selling you crap, but they're spray painting it gold. Okay, I'm here to tell you that you might lose a leg, you might starve and drop 50 pounds, but we're going to get through this. Okay, because I'm not about to lie to people. My soul cannot continue. I cannot leave this earth knowing I was part of the problem or sat back. And look, there's a bunch of good excuses not to get involved, but guess what? You are part of the problem. Okay, and we have all got to fight right now.
Yeah, that's how I feel with my kids' livelihoods going to be in the future, 10, 15, 20 years down the line. If I'm not doing what I'm doing now, what are they going to do?
That's exactly it. But you see, they want them sterile. They want people sterilized. They want you on your 19th booster by now. They don't want people to have kids to understand that purpose of parenthood. You see, that's why they want you confused. That's why they want you to cut it off and have a hole that rots and all. That's why. And if they can capture those people, see, if they can't get you with abortion to stop you, then they're going to trans you. You see, they've war gamed everything. It's such a joke. And anyway, what else would you like to discuss? I know I only got an hour with
you. Well, let's see here. What do you think the chances of how can we have a free and fair election? What are the steps that need to happen in order for the vote, at least some semblance of a free and fair election?
Overwhelming their fraud. Everyone not making excuses, getting out and voting on election day, showing voter ID. That's it.
Well, here's where my mind's going. Have you seen the news with Aurora, Colorado, and Chicago now? Two major blue cities with harsh gun laws that are now in the beginning phases of being taken over by a Venezuelan gang.
Yes, I've seen that.
So, you know where my mind's going with that, just systematically? We know what those Venezuelan gangs did in the Venezuelan elections. They were intimidating voters.
I'm gonna show you what I got for that.
Oh, okay.
I got a solution for that.
Oh. Well, of course.
Oh wait, she has it locked. Okay, never mind. I was going to show you my gun safe. Here, watch. Hold on, while we're here, I'll just pop this lock real quick.
Yeah, no. But where I was going with that is, how do we know? My mind is thinking, trying to extrapolate 3, 5, 10 moves ahead. Are they being set up to intimidate voters to make sure that the election goes in the way they want it to? Because that's what they did in Venezuela to ensure Maduro got the victory.
Yeah. I remember that whole Maduro thing. That was about a month ago, and then some guy on his show, he calls himself the American Communist, and he was trying to make a case for Maduro, which had me worried. But yeah, back to that. Look, the reason our nation hasn't failed yet is because of our Second Amendment, and what worries me too is the people going over there to Aurora, Colorado. That's in the state that was trying to take Trump off the ballot. So we obviously know where their DA and the top of their state government lies.
Yeah.
I'm worried the people that volunteered going over there, they could go and help save lives and everything, and then that be deemed as extremist behavior, or it could be, I don't know. See, I would love to go and do that, but I just don't think we have the DOJ in place right now where that would be understood properly. And I mean, with all that, that's how George Soros takes over the nation. They get to all these DAs, they get to, because there's so much discretion with that job.
Well, my question is not so much like, how do we stop them?
I'm going off on a rant. Yeah, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
It's not to stop them, but it's how much of what is being planned with those gangs is part of the election interference operation. Like, could that be a thing?
They want it. They want this in more places. They want that happening in New Orleans right now. They want that happening and like I said, they're late on their tyranny. They want more of this. I mean, Mayorkas opened all the borders and I mean, is helping pave roads and build bridges in the Darien Gap, and it's just, it's all subterfuge. Man, I don't know.
Well, that's fair. I mean, it's a very left field question that I asked because it's.
I'm happy you asked it, and that needs airtime. That needs to be talked about. That's a huge problem over there. In Denver right now. And the thing is if they're successful and getting no resistance in Denver, then they're going to channel, illegals to go to another place and just overwhelm them. I mean, that's the thing. It starts off in New York and California and then expands out to the rest of the country. So it's important that it's stopped in Colorado and stopped in Aurora. Because they were successful in Aurora, they're in Chicago, they're bringing it to Aurora. Because they got away with Oklahoma City, and how the government bombed it, and then Timothy McVeigh magically has a job as a Fed after, you know what I'm saying? They got away with 9/11. So if we don't stop them with their small staged events, they're going to keep on rolling out their tyranny. So yeah, and I mean, this is all case in point that gun-free zones do nothing.
They don't.
The most murders are.
And here's the thing. I see that situation with the voter intimidation. I don't even know if that's 100% accurate. I'm just extrapolating forward that might be an avenue that they're going to try. Of course, it's going to have a hard time happening in red states. Most likely going to keep in blue states. A lot of people are armed in Texas. A lot of people are armed in Louisiana. You just proved my point.
Yeah, but also, too, they could starve us out. They could cut off supply chain. I'm telling you, they have so many ways of trying to get back at us, and we just don't know if they're going to be competent enough to pull it off. We've shown that we can overwhelm them in 2016. We've shown the world that we can have a cheap energy, prosperous America. Now we have to show the world, do we want it bad enough to have it back? And are we willing to, like, I keep on using this tit for tat analogy, but we have to be able to think what they're doing next, but not give them the benefit of the doubt, but do as much as we can to peacefully resist. If they shoot first, hey, it's on. But I don't know, man. I mean, this truly, it's tough because this is all uncharted waters, and I hate using. I feel like that's a cop out. I don't want to say that because I want you and I could sit in war game till midnight tonight and cover a fraction of what needs to be covered. I just don't know enough what they're going to do. We need to see. Are they even going to debate tomorrow? Is Trump
tomorrow?
Rikers Island. Yeah, tomorrow is one of the debates, right? I mean,
nice.
Kamala's been trying to back out. So it's just like, we got to see where they don't know what they're doing, but they're looking for weak spots. You get what I'm saying? Like, they tried to lock us all down after 9/11, through the threat of terrorist, and everyone's assumed a terrorist until proven otherwise. You get what I'm saying? But they couldn't because there's too much resist. Like they found a weak spot and breached the barrier through the medical system for the whole COVID thing, right? So they're always probing for weak spots, and they don't care how they get their tyranny in place. So it's on us to have that strong immune system, if you will, and know that okay, they're pressing here or this or that.
The debate, I think, is actually on the 10th. There was a debate on the 4th, but I don't think she's going to that one.
Okay, that's the one that got. I'm sorry, I'm not in front of my calendar. You're right.
No worries. Just wanted to add that context, but I want to talk about something hopeful, actually, because let's say,
there is hope. I don't mean to be so negative.
Well, no, because I'm thinking forward, and the merger between Robert F. Kennedy Jr. and Donald J. Trump, and I'm looking at the alliance that they have. Well, there's not just voter tyranny, there's not just violence tyranny, there's also medical tyranny that we're going through. And one of those key issues that I was eyeing Robert F. Kennedy Jr. in the first place is because of his stances on health, especially for being a father. It's very important to me. I don't want my kids to, I have 2 sons now. If I have a third one, there's a very high chance that he's going to have autism. That doesn't sit right with me.
No. Only if he gets vaccines. He will not have autism. Look, you know what? Let me do this for voters. Let me read off my little health stance. Is that okay? I have time to make some points.
Let's do it.
All right. So my 2024 health stance is there should be no fluoride in tap water, toothpaste, or baby water. It is poison and a byproduct of the aluminum industry runoff. Also, no aluminum in deodorant. Cancer is a curable symptom and not a sickness, and it is not hereditary. We should rid all GMOs, glyphosate, BPAs, and other forever chemicals that are toxic. Also, rid the spraying for mosquitoes, usually performed by a municipal truck. The United States Department of Agriculture and the FDA have been captured by the industry they're supposed to be regulating. And they all have an interest in subsidies and mass poisoning the American people. Vaccines do not cure. At best, they only prevent. And if they prevent, they only prevent if one gets the exact right kind and it isn't expired or tainted. Also, the side effects, are they worth the chance of prevention? Autism and Down syndrome are only found in countries with vaccine programs. 5G and most Wi-Fi is a frequency that is very bad for the nuclei of cells. It should be banned. It should be replaced with frequencies that are healthy, found in the Schumann resonance from 7.83 hertz to 33 hertz. Big Pharma slogan is a patient cured is a patient lost. We must ban seed oils, canola oil. And by the way, canola oil stands for Canada oil low on acid, which was used as an engine lubricant before it was put in our foods. Alfie Oaks, as well as the Amish, are a model for independent farming outside of the government control grid. Their practices of organic farming and animal husbandry are being attacked in court for their effectiveness in nutrition and sustainability. I have a little bit left. Sorry, bear with me. The CDC is a for-profit corporation, and the WHO was funded by the depopulationist Bill Gates. Raw milk is good for you, and the pasteurization and homogenization have bastardized the milk industry, preventing good enzymes in milk. Ivermectin is good for you and a cure for many things. Peanut allergies come from vaccines grown on peanuts. And finally, no aspartame, artificial butters, sweeteners, or coloring dyes, no high fructose corn syrup. Thank you for letting me spout that off. It needed to be on record.
I love that, because everything that you just described in that letter or in that statement, your health statement, is something that I've been researching for the last year and a half. And point by point by point, right? My second child has not had a single vaccine. And I'm getting shit from everybody in my family. I'm getting shit from everybody, all my friends. But it's like,
let them survive. Let them get shit and let them make straight A's.
Yeah. And it's just like, it's one of those risks that I am not willing to take at this point in time, knowing even there's a small risk of the bad thing happening for the even smaller risk of them getting infected, because my kids are healthy.
They have an immune system. And another thing too, that has been the medical system being bastardized is if something is going to make change in you, or if you want to introduce something, it goes to the mouth or mucous membrane. Okay. It doesn't go through a forced inoculation. Like that's just not even how the body works to force something, even if it's attenuated in the body. And another thing, if you want to research, we only have 5 minutes left. Let me tell you this. The big time attorney, Robert Barnes, is helping represent the Amish in Pennsylvania. And he's highlighting the abuse of the United States Commerce Act to, if they want to sell raw milk or eggs or whatever from their farm. Okay, you know about all this?
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Oh, I was just saying, yeah. That they're abusing this. That way they can't sell anything. That way everyone has to be inside the control grid and only buy from Tyson or whatever Conagra Foods. So if everyone wants to look into Joe Amos is the head guy, the main defendant against the state of Pennsylvania and the federal government. Robert Barnes out of California is representing them, and he is just pointing out how the Pennsylvania is going insane over everyone having to buy fake food and things like that. They do not want sustainable farming, and also it is worth checking, like I said, into Alfie Oaks, Seed to Table, one of the best grocery stores. It's the Rolls Royce of grocery stores. Not that it's expensive as far as best prices, tons of just amazing beef and tropical produce. All of I think it's Imacoby Boulevard in Naples. I cannot wait to go there again. It is unbelievable. But yeah, anyway, what would you like to close out with, sir?
Yeah, I mean, this is awesome. I think we covered a lot of ground. Hopefully, the people of Louisiana, if they haven't heard one of our other 2 interviews, that they can get some value out of this third one. But I think what you're talking about is not just limited to your congressional district either. It's on the hearts and minds of a lot of Americans. So if they tune in, hopefully they got some value out of it. Yeah, how would you like to convince or not convince? I like to leave like a 1-minute segment or 2-minute segment for you to reach the voter, because we're going to cut this into its own segment, and you have an opportunity to say, this is who I am, this is why you should vote for me. How would you phrase that?
Sounds good. 3, 2, and I'm American First Republican Zan John, running for the 3rd District of Louisiana, and to give its citizens a seat at the decision-making table and uphold traditional conservative values, because the Democrats, all they have left now is tyranny. The Secret Service stood down July 13th. Thank God Trump survived. However, they will not stop trying to assassinate him. I firmly support the Bill of Rights, Constitution, First and Second Amendment, and President Trump, who won 2020, as well as due process of law and cheap energy, a meritocracy instead of DEI, and a closed southern border, because today's illegals are tomorrow's Democrats. The CIA has fully been in control of this nation since 1963. They work for foreign banks and hate this nation. And launched COVID because they were pissed at Trump. We are taking back this country this November, and that's final. I've been speaking the truth on record since 2020, back when it was the hardest to be an outspoken patriot. We must gold back the dollar and abolish the private federally owned Federal Reserve Bank. Man is a carbon-based being, and I'll tell you this much: the situation wouldn't. If the situation was hopeless, their propaganda wouldn't be necessary. So there's that.
Very good. Very good. So for all the voters that are tuning in, I hope you got value out of this. We're going to, Mr. John, I'm going to share this link with you on Twitter. So you could download it. You could put it on wherever that you're not banned. We've gone full force into Twitter X. So it's the last
you have left.
Yeah, it's the only thing we have left. So we're going to publish it there. We'll give you the ability to download it, upload the clips if you want. Going to have our branding on it, so just give us our little credit tag. That's all we ask. Feel free to use this in your campaign. Hopefully, it'll wake up some other people. Hopefully,